sensitive locations like churches, schools, and hospitals. And joining me now, once again, we have Alexi McCammond, Msnbc political analyst and host of the podcast In Sync with Alexi. So thanks for coming back with us. And as we have Donald Trump also saying, the law prohibiting the use of the military for domestic law enforcement, quote, doesn't stop the military if it's an invasion of our country. And I consider it an invasion of our country. How far can we expect him to push the limits, Alexi? And how strong are existing safeguards? And by the way, is the word invasion clearly defined relative to this or not?
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky because, of course, I feel like any president-elect is not going to admit in an interview that they might try to break or bend certain laws, especially as it relates to immigration, one of his signature policies since the first time he ran for president. But we also know that Donald Trump and the people he's surrounding himself with, namely the folks behind Project 2025 and others, have already made arguments to the tune of we are living in a post-constitutional society. They have already made arguments that they can interpret laws and define things in ways that benefit their agenda. And so it might sound like it's legal or like it's lawful what they are thinking of doing, but we know that Donald Trump has broken laws. We know that he has tried to get around safeguards in the past. And we know that immigration and especially pulling off what he has referred to as the greatest mass deportation of illegal immigrants or immigrants in general, really this time around, is something that he wants to be part of his legacy. He cares so deeply about numbers and facts as it relates to what he has accomplished or what he hasn't. We could expect him to go to great lengths to make that number of mass deportations as high as it possibly can be. As he said himself, he's willing to do the maximum amount because of the things that he cares about.
Yeah. I'm curious what you think about him backtracking on his assurances to bring down prices. He now says it's going to be very hard to do it. Why do promises like that work so well with the American public, even though we know politicians often overpromise? Why is it that Americans are willing to believe something when you say, well, logistically, how's this going to be done? And any politician, Trump or otherwise, will skirt answering the question. And they're like, well, he said he's going to do it.
Yeah, it's so interesting, especially when you consider back to the campaign when Kamala Harris became the Democratic nominee. She put out like an 82-page plan for her economic policy and her economic vision. And that was after people were sort of demanding and saying, hey, we need more specifics for what you're going to do. And yet, to your point, Donald Trump would often just say these general statements, sweeping statements like your income will go up, insurance will go down, the price of groceries will go down, women, you won't have to worry about anything, don't worry about abortion or reproductive rights, everything will be safer, you will have no illegal immigrants in the country. He paints this picture that feeds on the feelings and fears that people have. And he's really a businessman at heart who thinks about things in terms of marketing and branding. And when you have built this persona as a quote unquote successful businessman, that allows people to believe what you're saying, even when you don't have the specifics. Now, I think what will be really interesting, Alex, is if we start to see his own supporters turn against him, if and when they are in the thick of, God forbid, an economic recession, but a situation in which they can't afford basic groceries because of tariffs and other things that Donald Trump himself is either doing explicitly or basically admitting now he can't do, like bring down the price of groceries.
He was also asked about Project 2025, and he said it was inappropriate for it to be released before the election. He also said he had nothing to do with it, but he didn't disagree with many parts of it. Do you think he was likely frustrated that it got so much publicity and it revealed much of the plans for his administration?
Yeah, and I think to his point, he says in there, it complicated my election, and that's referring to how much coverage Project 2025 got, the exact intentions they have with their sweeping